Hi students, today's session is going to be a very important session for all the UPSC aspirants of English literature pan-India, those who are going to prepare for 2026, 2027 and even all states of India who have the PCS and they have the optional paper as English literature. So today I am to give you lot many detailed knowledge about the syllabus, about how to qualify, and as you know students, cracking UPSC, cracking Civil Services Examination is not a joke. So how should you begin? For a student who has studied English literature in his life or even who has not studied English literature, because there are 40% students who join my classes whose background are not English, जिनका background English नहीं होता है, but they aspire to choose it for their optional in the UPSC. What should be the right strategy, the right direction, the right content, the right mentorship, the right test series, and the most important, the right teacher and the right channel and the right place. So, I feel happy today to guide you as a mentor, as a professor in English, for my innumerable new students who would be searching for the best classes, best guidance, not only for 2026, but even for the coming examinations like 2027 and others. So here, you must be watching that the UPSC 2026, the batch is running. The test series and answer writing, which plays a very integral part to qualify, and the most important is these 7 indispensable books which cover your entire syllabus, which is given here, which has the 2 history of English literature, 2 volumes of paper 1, 2 volumes of paper 2, 1 special literary terms, and in this new edition, you are also getting the entire syllabus with my question and answers solved, which helps you to understand that how to write answers and how to start with. So, the first thing to keep in mind is to go through the entire syllabus, which I'll be discussing with you right now, along with the PYQs of not less than 5 years, and a brief understanding of the syllabus, which has 14 novels, 5 plays, 60 poems, long and short both, along with their questions in the question paper, is very, very important. And my dear students, when you know how to embark towards the first step, the journey will seem a lot easier to you. Now, when you look at the syllabus, you should check the questions related to or the frequently asked questions from that particular area, as it will help you to get an idea of how the questions are framed in the original papers. Fine. Now, you can see here, today's session is totally based on the syllabus. Here. Now see on the screen, UPSC IS Mains English Literature Syllabus. Today's session is important for you because of many reasons. You will understand from step 1 to step 10 what I'll be discussing with you. This syllabus you already have. There is nothing new. But once I am discussing with you, you are getting much more input and knowledge and how to prepare this syllabus, which I have been teaching for the past 25 years. So let us look at the UPSC syllabus. First comes to section number paper 1. कैसे आपको पढ़ना है? How you have to study? What precautions you have to take? how a copy, pen, and diary should be maintained with my classes, with my content, with my guidance, with my test series. And from the day one, the moment you decide that I have to take English literature as optional, and if you have any queries, any, you can say, confusion, any comparison, you are free to call, free to connect with me, take an appointment so that you may have all the queries solved and you can confirm your subject in your mind, in your subconscious level. And this is the basic infra, this is the basic point which you have to know, that even you have to qualify the 2027 exam or 2028 exam, it is a thumb rule. ये thumb rule है that mains subject has to be commanded much in advance before you qualify pre. प्री क्वालिफाई करने से बहुत पहले आपको अपना सब्जेक्ट को कमांड कर लेना है. If this guidance is followed by you all with faith, determination, religiously, and not refraining from hard work, you can see the result yourself. I am very much sure that what you are today and what you will be afterwards, it will be a demonic change. Because English literature is a subject which needs love, affection, care. And you have to study from your heart. So that is the basic thing with English and other subjects. Now, if you see the section paper number 1 and section A, see the Renaissance. I'll just mark it here. I'll explain you. See, fine. So देखिए यहाँ पे लिखा है the Renaissance. ये देखिए. Fine. Now, थोड़ा स्लो चलेंगे हम लोग जिससे कि आपको हम अच्छे से समझा पाएं. Now, for example, this is my volume number 1 book. See, volume 1, History of English Literature. And here it is, the Renaissance. For example, if you have this book and you open this book and match the syllabus, see, if you are camera dekhiye, the Renaissance. So, this matches with this Renaissance. And the content which I have written here, it is not only full of expertise, but the content is short, condensed, and the way it has to be put in the examination, it is written accordingly. Fine. Now, after that, many students, they don't know who are Tudors. What is the Tudor dynasty? So see, I have written here the Tudor royal dynasty. I have tried to ask many gold medalist students from different universities of India. They are knowing Renaissance, they are knowing Elizabethan, but they are not knowing the Tudor royal dynasty. Why they are known, for what they are known, what is the most important thing about the Tudors, that these kings always believed in divine right. They are divine, they are gods, they thought themselves. So this is the basic thing which you have to know about the Tudor dynasty. So this is how, step by step, ladder by ladder, stone by stone, you step up and cover your syllabus with that authenticity, with that courage, that now you can excel, because what you are nurtured in your mind, in your subconscious, and you have the practice of writing answers from the very beginning, the examination will become easier and easier day by day. Fine. So these books help you to that level. Now, see, the Elizabethan and the Jacobean drama. Then they have asked about the metaphysical poetry. If you have studied the history part, or even if you have not studied, you have to go by this. One more thing. There are many things which are not given in this syllabus. But when I teach in my classes of the UPSC, there are many things which are missing here, but in my history part, there will be nothing missing. So you will be getting more lectures, more things to understand, because every UPSC question which is asked has to be blended with the knowledge of the history part as per your syllabus. For example, if they are asking you, what do you know about the metaphysical poetry? State with examples written by John Donne. Now, what happens that the students directly start writing about John Donne. They start directly writing about the metaphysical element and John Donne and blah and blah. No, you have to blend John Donne and the metaphysical poetry with the history part. When did metaphysical elements, the metaphysical poetry by John Donne entered into which age? Who was the ruler? Whether the ruler took that initiative to support John Donne or not, and many more things you will read, we will understand in my classes, in the content, in my guidance, and so much. Then when the examiner will read your answer, it will be very different from the normal students who have prepared themselves alone. So here comes the point where you have to be different, and this is how you will be able to reach 270, 280 or 290 to qualify this exam. You have to be extra careful. Now, this is metaphysical poetry. Then what is epic and the mock epic? That Rape of the Lock. Then Neoclassicism. What is a satire? The romantic movement, that is Wordsworth. The rise of the novel, 18th century. Then the Victorian age. So they have given in short, but this does not mean that you will be leaving many other major points, major areas of the history part. So in this book, each and every minute details are given section wise. Fine. यहाँ तक आपको clear हो गया होगा. Now, we move to the other part of the syllabus. Now see, यहाँ से शुरू होता है आपका main syllabus after completing the history part. Now see, William Shakespeare के दो plays हैं, that is King Lear and Tempest. See, one is, you can see here, King Lear, and you see here Tempest. Now, you can see the 10-20 years paper of UPSC optional English. You will find every year you are getting a question either on King Lear or Tempest. And you must also have studied, as हम मान के चलते हैं, in your BA, in your MA, sometimes in class 12th also, 11th also, even 10th also. Fine. So many students have an idea about the King Lear, about the Tempest. But my dear students, there is a lot of difference between that knowledge and the UPSC level approach knowledge. The textual things, the understanding, the story does not change. The story still remains the same as you might have read in class 10th or even in the UPSC. The basic point which the students don't understand is the approach of writing answers. How to attempt the answer of King Lear or Tempest or whatever the examiner is asking. Fine. So here you have to have that nudge, that little bit difference between a common student and you yourself who is preparing under my guidance with a lot of zeal, input, and you can say interest. So when you listen to that lectures of King Lear or Tempest, or when you see this, I'll just show you one thing. See, this is section 1, and see paper 1, section A. Now when you open this book, यहाँ पे देखिए लिखा है Shakespeare, King Lear. Fine. Now, after giving a lot of details about Shakespeare and King Lear, I have taken questions. And what is the name of the question? Point out and discuss some of the improbabilities and inconsistencies in King Lear. हिंदी में बोलेंगे इसको कि ये पता करिए और डिस्कस करिए कि क्या क्या improbabilities थी, क्या क्या inconsistencies थी King Lear में. So this first question I have discussed in writing in this book. And after completing those things, when you will read this, you will really fall in love कि सर ने कितना अच्छा लिखा है और आपकी कितनी मेहनत कम हो गई. Now, the second question which I have taken is point out some of the salient features of Shakespeare's style as employed in King Lear. And the third question I have taken, quote unquote, I have taken a quote, Lear is essentially impossible to be represented on the stage. Discuss. Fine. Now, ये तीन क्वेश्चन मैंने किंग लियर के लिए लिए. So what happened? You completed my classes of King Lear. My one class of 40-50 minutes will be so content rich that, my dear students, if you, for example, if you start writing one of my class on King Lear or any topic on a sheet of paper, believe me, 20, 25, 30, 35 pages of like this A4 sheet will be covering and the content will not finish. That level of content I am teaching direct on camera without any PDF. No PDF. Directly this book the students take. This is different, and what I'm teaching, those classes are different. So now understand the level of content which you are getting in my class, the level of guidance you are getting in my books, with the question and answers on each topic, and my personal mentorship. It changes the entire scene of the student's ability to qualify this exam. But yes, conditions apply. You have to be very reliable for yourself. You have to have the dream to nudge and to nurture my dream with you. Fine. So now comes the Tempest. अब Tempest में मैंने क्या लिया है देखिए questions बच्चों. The pursuit of power in Tempest. Theme of regeneration, forgiveness, and reconciliation in Tempest. Allegorical reading of the Tempest. Supernatural elements in the Tempest. Symbolic significance of that character Caliban. इसके बाहर कैसे जाएगा कोई आंसर? And all I have written. Now, the questions in the framing of the words can be changed here to here, but the content, the thought process और जो उसकी creativity है वो आप manage करोगे because you have been fed with the best of the details of these chapters, of this knowledge, of this particular text. Fine. Now, we move on to the next point, which I can see here. The next is, you can see, ये देखिए, John Milton. Now, again, I repeat the same thing that in this John Milton है. Just hold on. आगे बढ़ गए शायद हम. अरे हाँ, जॉन डन ही है बेटा. जॉन मिल्टन उसके बाद है. जॉन डन. ये देखिए, जॉन डन. नाउ जॉन डन में जो पोएम्स प्रिस्क्राइब्ड है आपको, पहली है कैनोनाइजेशन, डेथ बी नॉट प्राउड, ऑन हिज मिस्ट्रेस गोइंग टू बेड, द गुड मॉरो एंड द रेलिक. आई होप सो that those students who have English in their background compulsorily must have read all these poems in the graduation or post-graduation. And they must have been a good scholar of English also, and they must have scored well also. But now, John Donne to be studied with the UPSC angle makes a lot of difference. Makes a lot of difference when you have to analyze this poem canonization, Death Be Not Proud, Relic, or Good Morrow, or any other poem. Now, if I take this book in my book and see the questions which I have taken for all of you, in what way is Donne a metaphysical poet? Substantiate your answer with reference to the poems you have read. Pehla question. Second, I have written, what is meant by a conceit? Write a note on how to use of conceits in Donne's poetry. Third is, discuss the quality of wit in Donne's poetry, or Donne is an intellectual realist. So the answers of these three questions, along with the content of the John Donne and the poems prescribed, the description here makes you a versatile student. And yes, then your self-study needs a lot of, you can say, hard work. So you get a great base here. Fine. And that base, which is so logical and so quality conscious. And a very important step for those students who are targeting their UPSC after 1 or 2 years. They have a lot of time to read the core text, to read the core poems, those special poems which are very long, like In Memoriam, like some others also, Paradise Lost. And now, when I say core text, I would give a warning call here, because the questions in the UPSC exam are not at all like the college setup or the university setup. No excuse can be ever entertained when it comes to read the actual text of drama, poetry, or novel. You have to read it if you have targeted your UPSC some 2 years after. For example, if you are targeting the 2026, many students who are joining my classes in the nearby weeks or will be joining, I tell them that, my dear student, you don't have that much time to cover up that core text which are very long. So just concentrate for that text in my classes, in my content, in the writing skills, and cover up those things. You have to read it if you have a lot of time. Now, suppose if you want to read Shakespeare and unable to translate because of the archaic language, you can access to No Fear Shakespeare, where you would easily find the translated text. Or even you can use some e-source to understand the difficult text that you all know. Fine. So coming back to the point here, क्या है कि बीच-बीच में I would be telling many important things which every IAS aspirant should listen and should take the guidance and follow that step to command their subject. Now, after John Donne, then you have, see, John Milton. And Paradise Lost, हम सभी जानते हैं, Paradise Lost 1, especially ज़्यादातर बच्चों ने पढ़ा होगा, 2, 4 या 9 नहीं पढ़ा होगा. From my past experiences, I have found that the questions which are given in the UPSC examination, original, mostly are from the books 1 and sometimes 4, sometimes others. So you may give more time to Paradise Lost book 1 initially. Later on, when you get some extra time, you can have a reading of this, जो कि मैं भी कराता हूँ इसको complete. Fine. Now, let us move to see Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope को कौन ही नहीं जानता, और Rape of the Lock को किसने ही नहीं पढ़ा होगा. The great epical mock epic poem, The Rape of the Lock. Now, Paradise, हाँ, मिल्टन पे भी क्वेश्चंस हमारे हैं इसमें 3 जो मैंने अभी नहीं बताया. अब एलेक्जेंडर पोप देखिए बच्चों, ये है आपका यूपीएससी का नेक्स्ट. हमने क्वेश्चंस जो दिया है अपने बुक में, मशीनरी इन द रेप ऑफ द लॉक, द रेप ऑफ द लॉक एज अ मॉक हीरोइक पोएम, social banter in the Rape of the Lock, the moral of the Rape of the Lock, characters in the Rape of the Lock. And when these 5 questions with answers, you are summing up in your mind, reading it properly, you can understand that immediately your level will be different. Am I right? So this is the way you have to prepare. Now, we move to the next. Next is विलियम वर्ड्सवर्थ. देखिए, ये देखिए विलियम वर्ड्सवर्थ, इनसे कौन ही अछूता है. विलियम वर्ड्सवर्थ, द ग्रेटेस्ट पोएम ओड ऑन इंटिमेशंस ऑफ इमॉर्टैलिटी, टिंटन एबे, 3 years she grew, she dwelt among the trodden ways, Michael, short poem, resolution and independence, also a 1 para poem, the world is too much with us, आपने पढ़ा ही होगा, बहुत पहले मिल्टन, thou shouldn't be living at this hour, and last upon Westminster Bridge. Now, you must have seen that these all great poems of Wordsworth you have to read. You must have read in 12th or BA or MA. But here the things would change. The standard would change. The thought process should change. The understanding of Wordsworth should change. It should go into a deeper level. Your answer writing, your diction, your vocabulary, your phraseology. And in order to get an excellent command over the text, one needs to know the background of the text, the author, the age, the socio, the political, the economical, the religious, or of the age. So, for example, you have to understand and write Wordsworth best. You have to know how Wordsworth came into existence. What was the Romantic revival? What is the Romantic age? What is the transition age? That how the lyrics to the lyrical ballads got published in 1798. What were the reasons? The socio, the political, the religious, the economical conditions due to which Wordsworth could come up, and this Romantic revival was done. Finally, Romantic age. In short, we can say the story of English literature and historical background for every poem, for every author, is a key to understand the text in a very broad approach. And this will help you to frame the answers in a very, very analytical manner, which is needed by the examiner. And then only you can excel with the marks needed for the UPSC. Fine, यहाँ तक clear हो गया? अब देखिए वर्ड्सवर्थ में ये पोएम्स जब मैं पढ़ा देता हूं, आई टीच ईच एंड एवरी पोएम इन माय क्लास, एंड those students who have this books packet or they take, see, after completing these 5-6 poems in my books also explaining it, the questions which are most important I have taken is, state briefly Wordsworth's theory of poetic diction. One of the very most important question which is supposed to be known by the student. How far did he conform to it in his poetry? Second question. Write a note on Wordsworth's poetry as that of emotion recollected in tranquility. Third, point out and explain the significance of the classical element in Wordsworth. Fourth, discuss Wordsworth's treatment of nature and man. On fifth, bring out the defects of Wordsworth as a poet. And apart from these 5 questions, one thing is very important for the basic knowledge. I am asking you, what is pantheism? What is pantheism with reference to the poems you have read by Shakespeare in your syllabus? I have found that 50 to 70% students are not able to write good answers. They write blah, 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 Tom, Dick, and Harry types, where I could only support them with 4 out of 10, maximum 5 out of 10. So with 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10, you will not be getting a good total to qualify the mains. I feel that you are able to understand what I am trying to guide you continuously. Now, विलियम वर्ड्सवर्थ के बाद देखिए आया आपका द ग्रेट लॉर्ड टेनिसन, एल्फ्रेड लॉर्ड टेनिसन, और इन मेमोरियम, one of the very great poems by Tennyson of that Victorian age. And the question which I have taken in my book for Tennyson in memoriam is, Tennyson is at his best in his lyrical and descriptive poems. Second question, some special characteristics of the Victorian age reflected in Tennyson's poetry, or Tennyson's poetry as representative of the Victorian age. Third question, In Memoriam is a poem of despair. As a poem of despair. So this completes the Lord Tennyson here. Then we come to Henrik Ibsen. देखिए, Doll's House. How many of you must have read Doll's House even in their BA or MA? Because if I remember, Doll's House normally is to be seen in 90% of the syllabus all over India in BA or MA. The question which I have taken in my book for Doll's House is write a critical note on Ibsen and feminism. And the second is write a critical note on Ibsen, Ibsen's use of symbols in a doll's house. Fine. So these are the two questions which is taken by the doll's house. So here, this is section A, paper 1. This यहाँ तक ये पूरा complete हो गया. This is hardbound. यहाँ complete हो गया. This is paper 1, section A. Now, this is paper section A. Now this is section B. अब हम लोग section B पे चलते हैं. ये देखिएगा, ये देखिए, paper 1, section B. Now see, these are the world-renowned novelists, as I am able to see. See, Jonathan Swift, Gulliver Travels, Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, Charles Dickens, यहाँ ये Hard Times, then Henry Fielding, Tom Jones. Fine. First of all, I am taking these 4 which is coming in front of you. Now, I am opening this book of section B. ये देखिए section B लिखा है. Here it is written section B. And see, you can, if you are able to see, this is written paper 1, author, section B, and top पे लिखा है Jonathan Swift. You can see here, Gulliver Travels. The questions which I have taken, the classes of Jonathan Swift is taught in my application. The books are here. The questions which are taken is point out the characteristic of the people of Lilliput and show whether they possess any human traits. Second question, briefly describe the people of Brobdingnag and show in what respects they might be said to be like ourselves. Third, compare the characters of the king of Lilliput and of Brobdingnag and show what impression each makes upon the reader. And the fourth is write a note on Swift's humor in Gulliver's Travel. All 4 questions are very important, equally important, and helps you to understand, have an approach of that Gulliver Travel, what Sir has written in good number of pages. For example, if you see here, see, if this is my book of Jonathan Swift, see, Jonathan Swift, then Gulliver Travels, this page, Gulliver Travel as a satire, then all these going. Now see the question. Point out the characteristic. Briefly describe the Brobdingnag. See question number 3 and see question number 4. Now we go to Pride and Prejudice. So like this, each and every novel is given with the questions. Fine. So ये हो गया आपका Gulliver Travels. Now next is इसमें है Jane Austen. Now let me move to Jane Austen. Yes, Pride and Prejudice. ये देखिए, character sketches, Mr. Collins, Mr. Darcy, Elizabeth Bennet, Jane Bennet, and the title of the novel, social life as depicted in the novel, domestic comedy in Jane Austen, and 2 questions which I have taken, especially Pride and Prejudice is both didactic and mercenary. Discuss. Second question I have taken is irony in Pride and Prejudice. Fine. So इस तरीके से the students cover, I keep them covering from right to 1 to 100, and then we have Henry Fielding, Tom Jones. The question outline summary given. Tom Jones as a picaresque novel, examine the charge of immortality against Tom Jones and state whether it can or cannot be sustained. Then the fourth one is Charles Dickens' Hard Times. Hard Times as a social novel reproduce the picture of Victorian society which emerges from your reading of Hard Times, illustrate and comment upon Dickens' use of irony and satire in Hard Times. Last but not least in this panel, what is your opinion about the weaknesses and shortcomings of Hard Times as a novel? Fine. So you can understand the approach, the point, the viewpoint, the panoramic, you can say, picture of the UPSC level the students get. And one more thing which is to be told here is that you should read from to time some scholarly articles which gives you analytical and critical spectacle to understand the text and the motives. Scholarly articles, scholarly books expands your horizon to frame the answers and jot down the major points of the questions which have been asked in the previous year's original papers. And remember one thing, very, very important, underline this thing. The examiner is not looking for the summary of the events, but the organic form, your understanding, your evidences, giving the support to your answer, and the aptitude you are allocating in the answers of the IS examination. Fine. Second number. Next. इसके बाद देखिए, ये देखिए आपका ये, देन जॉर्ज एलियट, देखिए लास्ट में मिल ऑन द फ्लॉस, देन टेस्ट ऑफ द डेवर वैलीज, एंड देन द एडवेंचर्स ऑफ द हकलबेरी फिन. सो दीज थ्री, और इन तीनों का भी सारे क्वेश्चंस आपको ये बुक्स में मिल जाते हैं. ये देखिए, मिल ऑन द फ्लॉस 3 क्वेश्चंस, टेस्ट ऑफ द डेवर वैलीज 4 क्वेश्चंस, द एडवेंचर्स ऑफ हकलबेरी मार्क ट्वेन again 4 questions. So this is how the paper 1 completes here. Fine. Now, one very important thing, if you are listening to me carefully, that most of the students fail to understand that English literature is just not about learning a few authors, poets, and their works. It is not about the learning of the summaries. English literature is something beyond this. Believe me. And what is the requirement? It requires a profound ability to delve into the secondary imagination. Again, I am repeating the sentence. It requires a profound ability to delve into the secondary imagination and captures the thoughts from that part of it. अगर आपको याद हो, एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन की एक लाइन मुझे याद आ रही है, in the words of Albert Einstein, who rightly remarked, to quote unquote, to tell you, imagination is more important than knowledge. इसको कहीं नोट कर लीजिए, ये किसी और ने नहीं कहा है बल्कि एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन ने कहा है. Imagination is more important than knowledge. I believe that students who aim for a vision of becoming countries' diplomats and great officers must possess inborn talents of great thinkers and makers. And for this only, today's session is to motivate you, is to guide you, is to make you understand that literature is one of those very glamorous subjects wherein computer engineers, commerce students, management students, MBBS doctor, and many others who don't belong to the English literature background, they are studying in my different batches. And if I'm saying this thing on record, this means, yes, it has some meaning to it. I have a student from a government medical college of Telangana. I have many students from NCR Delhi who are computer engineers, civil engineers, architects, B Pharma, commerce, and even other fields too, who, after exploring the entire world of uh, different segments, due to many reasons, they took English literature. And after getting OSN Academy and my guidance, I keep asking, they say, Sir, I am happy that I have taken this subject. It is not because I am saying this thing, it is because that I have always been in touch. And I always guide every student with their profile after talking to them. If I feel that English literature would not be the right subject after speaking to them, I emphatically say, my feeling is that you should not take English literature. I am the first person to say that yes, you may take or you must not take. In this way, I have even denied admission to many students who tried to go for English, but after getting guidance, they were thankful to me that, sir, saved my time. Money has no value compared to the time they put in so many months and years. And ultimately, if they feel that they are being cheated because they took the wrong subject, then it is actually not a good thing. So that is why counseling is important. So today, I feel happy and proud to say that my students have been qualifying, and those who are qualifying or qualified have always put their blind faith in me, put their efforts 100%, and they have always been in touch with me through and through, because without being in touch, it is not possible to guide always. Fine. Now, this is the second paper. Now you can see here the second paper. Now, again, I am coming back to the paper number 2. ये देखिए. This is section 2. In the same way, I have section 2, paper 2, section A, and paper 2, this is section B. Means two volumes of each paper. Now, if I open the section A part, as you might be watching here, see, what is here? You can see modernism. Modernism, poets of the 30s, the stream of consciousness novel, then absurd drama, Waiting for Godot, Samuel Beckett, colonization and post-colonialism, postmodernism, Marxist psychoanalytical and feminist approaches to literature, and Indian writing in English. So these classes are to be taught, these classes are to be taken by me, and I teach them emphatically, making all the points very clear to you, and I even give you the content for this. Fine. Now, if I move to the next part of the syllabus, here you can see, ये देखिए. If I take the syllabus, that is W.B. Yeats, see the poem here. See, this is paper 2, and these are the poems. See the number of poems. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Easter 1916, The Second Coming, Prayer for My Daughter, Sailing to Byzantium, The Tower, Among School Children, Leda and the Swan, Meru, Lapis Lazuli, and Byzantium. Those ever who have known W.B. Yeats as a modern poet, T.S. Eliot as a modern poet, they must have seen the level of content and the level of thought process of these poems, which are so different from the Romantics, from the Pre-Raphaelites, from the Neoclassicist era, from the Elizabethans. It is totally a different segment. Fine. So here, if I take my books now and match it here, you will find, see, William Butler Yeats. And the questions, now I'll just tell. Yeats' interest in magic and the occult, discussed here. Yeats as a poet, discussed here. Write an essay on Yeats' symbolism with special reference to the poems you have read here. Critically examine Yeats' principal thematic concerns here. Comment on the symbolic meaning of sailing to Byzantium or sailing to Byzantium distills its meaning into quintessence, haunting the mind and probing the emotions as no English poet had done since the 17th century. Discuss. So each and every minute care has been taken to give the student the best. Fine. इसी प्रकार से अब आगे आप देखें इसमें ये देखिए in the same way as I have told you about paper one, again the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, the journey of the Magi, and Burnt Norton. Here it is all given. 7 questions I have taken for T.S. Eliot. Then आप देखिए इसमें ये देखिए W.H. Auden. See the poems prescribed in your syllabus and the questions I have taken here. Auden as a modern poet, write an essay on Auden's concept of love and its significance, Auden's imagery, etc. etc. So, not to take much of your time here discussing these questions because questions play a very important role. So, each and every section has questions. That is the best part of this content. Fine. Now, see. John Osborne, Look Back in Anger, Samuel Beckett, Waiting for Godot, Philip Larkin, the poems prescribed, you can see here. Then Looking for a Cousin on a Swing, a River by A.K. Ramanujan, Of Mothers, Among Things, Love Poem for a Wi-Fi, Small Scale Reflections on a Great House, and Obituary. Now see, the novels here. Again, Joseph Conrad, James Joyce, D.H. Lawrence, E.M. Foster. And Virginia Woolf, Raja Rao, Kanthapura, V.S. Naipaul, and this is the last of the syllabus. So I kept on guiding you every line as my syllabus was going on. I was trying to guide you the importance of the content, the right place. So these contents, these seven volumes, is something which is, you can say, a blessing for the students. No study goes futile if done with whole dedication and hard work and having a regard for the teacher who is teaching. So these content of the entire syllabus includes the descriptive knowledge of every topic. And yes, those who are studying with the classes or would be joining the classes in the near future, they can excel to the power of 10 because that directly goes into your subconscious and stays whenever you are into the writing phase. And these books, this syllabus, are designed with the help of so many of authors taking a reference from the best answers of the previous year questions, designed with a concise, condensed knowledge to make students understand in one go. And even if not, then also the students won't find it difficult enough to study and learn and practice on their own. Now, before completing this session, the most and important point to be noted here by all of you would be test and answer writing. Test series, one of the most integral part. The students have to blend, have to knit themselves in an ocean of hard work in order to solve the test series. Because my hard work is 10 times more than your hard work, because when I check the copies, it is a mammoth task. As English literature remains one of the very competent subjects for UPSC optional mains, it has to be dealt with a lot of passion, lot of dedication. The cognitive skills, the logical reasoning with framing the answers are much required. So the test series help the students to grow and understand the pattern of framing the answers, articulating it in a proper phraseology, diction, and ornamental language while taking care of the grammatical and the rhetoric skills. It boosts up the confidence of the students and help them to release the stress of that vast syllabus. In the last but not least, I would just say that success comes to those who are too busy looking for it. It justifies that nothing in this world is impossible, as the word itself says, I am possible. Hard work and dedication is required and it is must. But the main essence is to concentrate and practice and practice and practice. Practice makes a man perfect. If IS is your dream, I am sure your vision must be high, beyond the sky limits. If you have set the limits, you should know to work upon the things. And for an amateur, it would be no less than catching a train when it has already left the station. For those who possess the skills of writing, excel in ornamental language, proactive in thought, making, having a deep understanding and knowledge of literature, and a burning desire to lose oneself in intense world of literature and language, can command this exam with ease. Remember this always. Thank you, my dear students. Take